Now, this is a story of a man, a dairy farmer, who came back from the dead. Doctors were all set to turn off his life support, but his family refused to give up. They demanded the hospital try high doses of vitamin C. Well, as Melanie Reid will show you, it turned into a fight. The specialists didn't believe such a treatment would work, but, well, suffice to say, the farmer is no longer on death's door, and his family claim he's living proof.
This is Aotearoa farmer Alan Smith in Auckland's intensive care unit shortly before the doctors told his family his life support should be turned off and he be allowed to die.
And I just sort of backed up and I looked at him laying there so helpless, and you know, he was my whole life. We've been together since we were both 16.
On the Smiths' Aotearoa farm, Alan's wife Sonia and son Shane remember when they were told it was all over.
I was, you know, speechless. I mean, it was like, your dad's the sort of person that you could always rely on him to be there to help you, and it was like, shit.
Childhood sweethearts Sonia and Alan were married when they were both 17. They have 3 sons. Their 9th grandchild was on the way when Alan got a severe case of swine flu.
He was always there to help us with anything. And it was just, yeah, I mean, what were we going to do?
And he wasn't very old, eh?
No, only at 56.
But on the other side of the house, over the back paddock, having been taken on an aerial check out of the farm, the bloke they're calling the Miracle Man. Looking anything but dead.
Alan.
Hello.
You're not doing too bad for a guy that was meant to be 6 foot under.
Well, apparently I was supposed to be turned off about over a year ago now it was. Yes.
We're going to turn the machine off that was keeping you alive?
So we're going to turn the machine off. And
Alan Smith's survival has been described as one of the most remarkable and controversial turnarounds in New Zealand medical history.
Feel lucky to be alive?
I am very lucky. They tell me I'm not a 1 in a million, I'm 1 in a billion to live.
Alan's story began on June 28, 2009. He arrived at Auckland International Airport after a fishing trip with mates in Fiji. He caught a connecting flight to Tauranga where his launch is moored and was joined by his wife Sonia.
I woke up in the night and he was really hot, so I gave him some Panadol and that cooled him off, but cooled him off a bit much because later on he was so... I woke up again and he was just like, he was laying there just stone cold and just laying there still as, and I thought, oh God, the first thing that came to my mind was, God, he's dead.
In Tauranga Hospital, Alan was swabbed for swine flu. After 2 days, his deterioration was so dramatic, the 3 sons and 8 grandchildren arrived, warned this could be a final goodbye.
Just seeing him just in an induced coma and everything like that just was horrible. I mean, yet that was the beginning.
A specialist crew flew in from Auckland with a portable ECMO machine, a complex life support system which takes over the function of the lungs. All the grandkids had surrounded their papa before he was airlifted north.
And they were still alive. My papa, they said.
Oh, then what happened? They stood waving at him.
They lined the corridor.
Oh, when he was taken out?
When he was taken out in the stretcher, yeah. Then I waved goodbye to the helicopter. Yeah.
In the hospital?
Yeah, from the hospital as they took him away.
And you must have been thinking, the chances aren't good.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was then I was starting to think, well, you know, where are we going to go with this?
As Alan lay in a coma in Auckland Hospital, heavily medicated, ECMO and other machines keeping him alive, Sonia began a detailed diary.
Saturday, 4th of July. Told this morning that it's 100% swine flu with no other bacteria. He is worst case in New Zealand and Aussie to be put on an ECMO machine. X-ray chest, whole lungs clouded out.
These are those clouded out X-rays. Alan developed what's known as whiteout pneumonia. This is when the lungs can't be seen by X-ray, so full of infected fluids they are unable to take in any air whatsoever. For weeks on end, Alan's condition changed little, hovering close to death.
When it got to 3 weeks, it was really getting scary then.
Just as the family thought things couldn't get any worse, Alan was diagnosed with hairy cell leukemia. Auckland Hospital notes to the family say,
"The type of leukemia Mr. Smith has is potentially treatable if that's all he had. However, with his lung failure, Mr. Smith cannot survive."
Monday the 20th of July. United States specialist came. Alan still same. Asked for meeting at 3 p.m. Told us they were going to turn off life support.
While Auckland Hospital refused to take part in this story, 60 Minutes has obtained Alan Smith's medical files and records of that Monday meeting.
This morning we, the CVICU consultants, met and discussed with the ECMO specialist from America Mr. Smith's situation. The group is in unanimous agreement that Mr. Smith should be removed from ECMO and be allowed to die. Continuing is only prolonging his inevitable death.
My brother just stepped in and he said, "No, you haven't tried everything. You've got to try vitamin C intravenously, high doses." And they just said no.
The family pleaded with doctors that Alan be administered high-dose vitamin C, a treatment right outside of mainstream medicine. So what was the doctor's reaction?
Oh, they said no because there's no proof of it doing anything or doing anyone any good. Or my mind was just spinning because they wanted to turn him off, and I'm thinking, well, I hope we can get through this. And with that, Paul and Shane walked in.
That's your sons?
Yes, 2 of our boys. They walked in, and then, they really stood their ground.
I said to him, mate, I said, if you lie on that bed for as long as he had without vitamin C, you will die too, just like he's going to.
Paul and Shane rang and told me, they sound like giving up, just like when you got a dead cow down. I said, well,
They'd given up.
I said to them, just force this vitamin C in them, so what actually happens. And
It'd be fair to say the Smith boys, Paul, Josh and Shane, weren't backwards in coming forward.
I says, what have you got to lose, mate? You give me one good reason what you guys have got to lose by trying it. I says, because it's not fair that we, all of us, should go on living our lives with the thought in the back of our minds, if only we'd pushed and tried harder, would it have saved them?
They were all about to find out if they'd pushed hard enough. The next day, Tuesday, Auckland Hospital arranged another family meeting.
All of intensive care unit medical staff have met again. We are all in agreement that vitamin C will be of no benefit. We all agree Mr. Smith will not survive. However, one member feels slightly uneasy that we should wait a little longer before taking Mr. Smith off ECMO. It's therefore reasonable to wait until Friday. If Mr. Smith has shown no improvement by then, he will be taken off ECMO. In the meantime, given the family's strong beliefs about vitamin C, we are willing to give this over the next 2 days.
So, Tuesday night, he got his first dose of 25 grams through the IV. And Wednesday morning, he got another 25 grams. The Wednesday afternoon, they did a CT scan on his chest, and that's when they found the air pockets in his lungs, whereas the x-rays had showed just complete white.
So, Alan's x-rays. Before high-dose intravenous vitamin C, so full of infected fluid, the lungs can't be seen. This X-ray taken after 2 days of high-dose vitamin C treatment. The lungs dramatically improved and readily visible. By D-Day, the Friday when Alan Smith was destined to die, when the ECMO life support was to be withdrawn, turned out to be the day Alan Smith was destined to, well, maybe, survive.
Mr. Smith is stable but still critical. He has improved over the last couple of days. Turning Mr. Smith prone has probably made the biggest difference. His chest X-ray is better.
They didn't agree or believe that the vitamin C turned him around, because
What did they think turned him around?
coincidentally, the same time as he started getting his vitamin C, they proned him, which was turning him over onto his stomach. So that's their argument on that's why he got better. So
Assume it will be, won't we?
my question to that is, why didn't you try that before even suggesting to turn the machine off?
So less than a week after the high-dose vitamin C was started, Alan had improved to the point that he could be taken off ECMO life support.
Sunday 26th July. Got taken off ECMO this morning today, hooray. Seems funny seeing him breathing again. He is taking a few of his breaths on his own.
Then, just as the family felt they could breathe a bit easy themselves, Alan's health started to dive. They would find the vitamin C had been stopped.
This time, a different consultant was there, and he was just so adamant against it. He sat back in his chair, rolled his eyes and crossed his arms and looked at the ceiling and said, "No, not putting him back on it. No, no."
Did he make you feel like a bit of an idiot?
He did, and it's the first time everyone had hit someone.
I got quite serious with that doctor.
How serious?
The meeting was stopped, put it that way.
3 days later, the vitamin C was restarted, but only very low doses of 1 gram twice a day.
So we got them all in one mob, not two mobs?
Now, while these King Country brothers certainly don't claim to be medical experts, they say the mucking about with the vitamin C was reflected by the changes in their father's health, and they say you'd have to be a bit thick not to see what was going on.
So he was on 100 grams per day, improving rapidly, very rapidly. And then he went downhill rapidly when they stopped it, cold turkey. When he got put back on vitamin C after that heated meeting, it was at a very low dose. And once again he started recovering, but it was a slow recovery. They expected to have him transferred to Waikato in less than a week. It took a lot longer.
By early August, still critical and still in an induced coma, but by now breathing on a ventilator, Alan was airlifted closer to home, to intensive care at Waikato Hospital, who, like Auckland Hospital, wouldn't be interviewed. It was here the Smith family found they had another scrap on their hands.
A doctor comes on and stops it. And
Stops the vitamin C?
stops the vitamin C.
And says what?
And I said, you know, why? And he said, well, this stuff has come down with him and we don't know what it is. So here we go again, another fight.
This time they brought in the heavyweights. Wellington public law specialist May Chen warned Waikato Hospital.
The decision to discontinue the high-dose intravenous vitamin C treatment without consulting with Alan's family is in breach of Right 7 of the Health and Disability Commissioner's Code of...
There was even a threat, wasn't there, that you would go to the High Court?
Yes, we would. But this is someone's life we're dealing with, not just anything, you know. Once he's dead, he's dead. You can't get him back. And we weren't going to let that happen.
So they agreed to give him a couple of grams of vitamin C a day.
Yeah.
And you wanted him to be on like 50 grams a day.
That's right. Yeah.
So they kind of said, yes, we'll do it, but didn't really do it anyway.
No, that's right.
slowly recovered, and it wasn't until we got some oral lipospheric vitamin C into him, and that's when he once again recovered really fast.
After a total of 9 weeks in a coma, Alan eventually was woken, which is when Sonia began administering vitamin C to Alan herself, using a special high-dose oral form known as lipospheric. The next step was meant to be months of rehabilitation.
I was taking 6 grams of that a day, of the lipospheric, and of course when I had to go to rehab again to learn to walk, I was told I'd be there for 3 months. Well, in 3 months I did not like the sound of that, but I walked out of that hospital in 1 day under 14 days, and even the doctors were absolutely disbelieved that I could come right so quick.
Alan was back on the farm recuperating when his neighbour John came down the road calling out to him.
Says to me, "Hey, Smitty, you owe me $15. I said, "What do I owe you $15 for, John?" He said, "I went and got me suit dry cleaned for your funeral, and you bugger, you've come back." Get him behind.
Alan Smith's comeback is being talked about around the world, described as little short of miraculous. Alan himself says he's living proof the establishment should be taking high-dose vitamin C seriously, and sooner rather than later. And just a short flight away, his launch in Tauranga. You know, Alan, that there will be many health professionals who say that it is not scientifically possible that your recovery is because of having high doses of intravenous vitamin C.
Well, they can say what they like, really, because basically I am alive. I was supposed to be dead. They wanted to turn me off, and here I am, I'm alive.
Well done.
Yeah.
Just a note, Alan Smith no longer shows any signs of having leukemia.
I've beaten the system, as to speak, and you know, if my family had let them turn me off, I would be dead.
It's not a good day to be dead today.
Not a good day to be dead today. There's obviously a fish out there somewhere with my name on it. We're going to catch it.
Dairy farmer Alan Smith, written off as dead by his doctors. His family insisted on intravenous vitamin C, and Alan survived. Well, after that story last month, there was a clamour throughout the country. Families of swine flu victims demanded the same treatment. As Melanie Reid reports, they want to know, why can't we try it?
I'm not saying go out there and grab the vitamin C and everything's going to be okay, because we don't know that. I don't know that. We never got the chance.
While 57-year-old Bob Goodwin was on life support battling swine flu, his son James was battling the hospital, trying to get intravenous vitamin C administered to his dad.
I still believe that my father didn't die. There was something else happened. He never died. He just didn't get given the chance to live.
Like many New Zealanders, James Goodwin watched last month's 60 Minutes story, Living Proof. It was about King Country farmer Alan Smith, who back in 2009 was all but dead with swine flu. Auckland Hospital wanted to turn his life support off.
The group is in unanimous agreement that Mr. Smith should be removed from ECMO and be allowed to die. Continuing is only prolonging his inevitable death.
My brother just stepped in and he said, "No, you haven't tried everything. You've got to try vitamin C intravenously, high doses."
The family had to fight the doctors.
I says, "What have you got to lose, mate? You give me one good reason what you guys have got to lose by trying it."
But once the hospital agreed, Alan started coming right, and today, well, he says he's proof that it works.
In a nutshell, I wouldn't have survived if I hadn't had the vitamin C.
Well, he's the rock in our family.
Since that story, people like James Goodwin clung to the hope that high-dose vitamin C could save their loved ones.
Feel robbed of at least having a chance at letting them have a fight.
James' father Bob was in North Shore Hospital, critical on life support with swine flu, complicated by an underlying autoimmune disease. You knew your dad was dying?
Had no hope, yeah.
They'd told you that?
Yep, they told us that.
And you wanted high-dose intravenous vitamin C?
Yep, I did. And they didn't want to give it because, A, they didn't know enough about it, but then they still said it will be detrimental to his kidneys and cause kidney failure. By this stage, his kidneys had already failed and was on dialysis. I had a number of a vitamin C specialist for them to contact. Nobody bothered to ring them. This went on for days. Another one that gets me is they came, this is the night before Dad died, came to us to have a meeting with Mum and told us it was time to turn the machines off, let Dad go. So my argument was, so I have the power, I said I can pull the tube out of Dad, he's nodding at me, pull the tube out of Dad and kill him, I have that right. He said yes. I said, why don't I have the right to try and give him something else? Because you guys don't know about it.
Meaning intravenous high-dose vitamin C?
Meaning the vitamin C. They did finally give him the proper dosage, I think 6 a.m. in the morning that he died, but it was all just too late. We just wanted the right to try it. Like, they've told us he's going to die, they can't do any more. Why can't we try?
The same question was being asked by another family who had a loved one in Auckland's ICU. The 36-year-old had been in a coma and on the life-saving ECMO machine for nearly a month before he died last week. The family made repeated attempts, even involved lawyers, trying to get the hospital to administer high-dose vitamin C, but the hospital was adamant.
Vitamin C has never been shown to have benefit in the treatment of any sort of influenza, including H1N1. There will be no circumstances in which will be given high-dose intravenous vitamin C.
What I'm concerned about is that to come to a blanket judgment that they will never administer this treatment under any circumstances doesn't seem to me to be the exercise of a judgment. It seems to me to be the application of a rule, which can't be consistent with the Hippocratic Oath and all of those other ethical obligations and legal obligations that they have under the statute.
Public law expert May Chen has been advising and acting for families who have hit a brick wall with the hospitals.
The reality is that high-dose intravenous vitamin C has been administered for the last 10 years by professionals and it's been found to be efficacious. I mean, the difficulty here, Melanie, is that we're not talking about ground-up gorsebush, we're not talking about leeches or being cut or witchcraft. I mean, we're actually talking about a treatment that has quite a long pedigree to it.
With regard to high-dose intravenous vitamin C, there is no convincing evidence at all in this population that it works. No convincing evidence at all. And there is
David Galler has been a principal advisor to the Health Ministry and is a senior intensive care specialist.
We as a group believe it's harmful. In this setting of critical illness, the potential for harm outweighs any putative benefits.
So when families say repeatedly, why could we not just have tried?
Yeah.
He was going to die.
Yeah.
What is your answer to that?
I wouldn't be comfortable giving it to them because I think that would be a deceitful act. You know, we're not in the business of actually raising false hopes. You know, we're in the business of being real and being honest.
The patients who've had vitamin C intravenously in New Zealand will be laughing at those doctors and laughing at the medical profession and be absolutely disgusted with the health system, as I am here in Australia.
In Melbourne, Professor Ian Brighthope specialises in nutritional and environmental medicine. He's used intravenous vitamin C for 30 years in private hospitals and clinics.
People don't die of swine flu, they die of a chronic vitamin C deficiency. It is absolute neglect to not allow or prohibit the use of intravenous vitamin C for somebody with an acute viral illness like the swine flu in the early stages. I am absolutely horrified that it's continuing in hospitals.
With regard to the position being put forward by the vitamin C lobby, we use a term called author bias. You know, they are not coming at it with equipoise.
Are you?
Yeah, absolutely. If there was a treatment, that if vitamin C truly did fix these people who are so desperately ill, why wouldn't we give it? Our lives are dedicated to improving people's lives, improving their outcomes. You know, I mean, it's just madness to think that we wouldn't.
How many intravenous vitamin C infusions have you done?
I've not given any.
So how do you know it doesn't work?
From a critical appraisal of the literature.
It doesn't work because they haven't tried it. It doesn't work because they've been told it doesn't work. And this is a major myth in the medical profession that needs to be debunked once and for all. People are dying because of the attitude of the medical profession.
What we do know is there is an ongoing tension between mainstream and complementary medical doctors. But more and more people with serious or terminal illnesses are exercising their choice, many turning towards complementary or alternative treatments. In New Zealand and here in Australia, there are a number of clinics which provide high-dose intravenous vitamin C treatment, but you'll find they don't advertise, choosing instead to keep a very low profile, and there's a reason for that.
The fear is basically based on the history of the fact that people have been investigated by the health authorities when in fact they've become vocal in this area.
Professor Avni Sali is the director of a Melbourne clinic that, amongst other things, researches and administers vitamin C. So if you put your head up above the parapet, so to speak, you were at risk?
Yes, you would be at risk, yes.
But let's go back to the case of farmer Alan Smith.
I am alive. I was supposed to be dead. They wanted to turn me off.
How do orthodox medical practitioners explain his survival?
I'm thrilled that Alan Smith got better. Absolutely thrilled, you know, absolutely thrilled. The link of causation with vitamin C, I mean, there is no proven causation. He got vitamin C, he got better. He was also on a range of extraordinary treatments, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, very careful lung ventilation, 24/7 nursing care.
I think nobody disputes that he got incredible treatment at this hospital. The question is, all the clinicians in this hospital advised that his machine should be turned off. He then got high-dose intravenous vitamin C, and he improved.
There are other things that were going on with that man that could equally explain that course of events, the improvement and the deterioration.
Is that not all a bit convenient?
Well, that's life, Melanie. I mean, you can look at it through a very narrow prism and just say, oh, it was vitamin C. But actually, it's too complicated to say that.
I don't think anyone's saying it was just vitamin C. No. It certainly looks like the vitamin C is the thing that at the very end of the line was the difference between him living and dying.
You can look right across the board at a range of complex interventions that happen to patients all across the country, and can you go back and say this one thing that a bus drove past at that particular time and they got better? Was it the bus?
I don't think we're talking about that. We're talking about, as I say again, one of the most researched therapeutic substances in the world.
Well, is it? I don't think it is. I absolutely dispute that. When I started...
But the professors in Australia that we've spoken to say that orthodox medical clinicians, they need to read more.
Well, I think we all need to read more, Melanie, no question about that. And I'm going to say it again, I don't think for a millisecond that we've got a monopoly on the truth here, but we have a framework to assess things, and it's critically important that we actually apply that framework, and it's not hit and hope.
All the while, though, across the Tasman, another swine flu vitamin C case was unfolding. 20-year-old Laura Clark was in a coma, on ECMO, life support, and in critical care.
Yeah, the prognosis was pretty reasonably grim. Because
Matthew Clark is Laura's older brother. What were your family told at that point?
We're told that Laura is she's very sick, and it's basically it wasn't looking too good.
From Australia, Laura's family saw our 60 Minutes story and set about tracking down Alan Smith in New Zealand.
Alan!
Hello. I'm a pilot myself and got the reg off his plane, then looked up on the New Zealand aircraft registry, found basically his address was like a partial stalking. And then
Matthew contacted Alan Smith, which eventually led him to vitamin C specialist Ian Brighthope.
Matthew asked me if I thought vitamin C would help with Laura, and I said I believed it would, from my own experience of the use of vitamin C in serious and critical cases, and also from the history of the successful case that you had in Auckland in New Zealand.
Alan Smith's case?
Yes.
Here in Sydney, in a desperate attempt to save Laura, St Vincent's Hospital agreed to the family's wishes to administer high-dose intravenous vitamin C.
Progressively, her lungs did seem to clear, and then basically she was starting to lungs started functioning in the way that they should do so.
As in the Alan Smith case, Laura's lungs recovered to the point that she was taken off the life-supporting ECMO machine.
We basically thought that was the jackpot. We were really excited because of the news. There was sort of just, but we're also trying to be careful that it wasn't just a coincidence, but it did sort of seem that the vitamin C was working.
Laura's treatment was being determined by the hospital in consultation with the family. Despite Ian Brighthope warning against it, the hospital took Laura off the vitamin C.
There was a few complications, and and part of the agreement in the beginning was that if Laura had been any harm, then we were to basically cease the treatment, being unconventional, and
Unfortunately, Laura passed away last Saturday. While it is yet to be fully determined, it appears complications led to a severe infection.
It's been a really hard sort of last four weeks, ever since she's been admitted into the hospital. We feel that we have exhausted all avenues.
There is little question Laura's treatment and her death will add to the already controversial vitamin C debate.
If the vitamin C lobby feels so strongly that it's the miracle cure that they say it is, let's test it. Okay?
Who usually funds trials?
Pharmaceutical companies.
So is a pharmaceutical company going to fund a trial for vitamin C?
Well, why don't the vitamin C lobby fund it?
All these people in hospital need to do is a good study on influenza using 60 grams per day or more for the sick patients to see how quickly people get better. Do something positive instead of being so negative all of the time and repeating this blarney about lack of science. Have a look in the literature. It's full of good science to support the stuff.